actually cuts her tongue, you know, she's within light. So that's where the really reveal is. She's in darkness right prior to that. And so that really was really gruesome. It worked out really well for us. It was something that they could repeat 60,000 times. You know, as well as you can tell, you know, we jumped into contacts this year as well. So we were doing contacts, and also, you know, if you know a little bit about makeup, we were doing prosthetic, like, transfers, actually, to make burn three-dimensional looks. And that's something that we hadn't done before. But we did that, actually, through Larry Bones of Boneyard Effects at that time, actually. So that was just an overall really cool makeup for Mia and our Evil Dead.
Yeah, if you click the next slide. This is another one of my favorite makeups. There's a scene in the movie where this girl has fun with a nail gun. She's got all these nails sticking out of her face. So just another one. And again, that's with prosthetic makeup as well. Go ahead and click the next slide. This was in effect, a lot of times when we watch movies, Chris and I have to translate what we see up on the screen into a live experience. It's really difficult because in a movie I always say, you know, you can do as many takes as you want. We'll talk about The Shining later, and some of those takes in that movie, you know, Kubrick did over 100 takes. We don't get that luxury in horror. It's live. We always say it's a new show every 10 seconds. So we have to make things that are very short, repeatable, and can be done all night long, but our actors also feel comfortable doing it. So if you go ahead and click the slide, this is the concept drawing for the scene where Mia jumps on top of another girl and vomits blood all over her. Go ahead and click. But we wanted that to happen so you could see the vomiting happen, but then we knew that everybody would do this, you know, they would just stand there and stare at it. So we wanted an ability for the actress in the scene to shoo away the people that didn't want to leave the set by turning the Deadite's head sideways and blasting the guest with what they think is blood. So go ahead and click the slide. So do you remember this? When we were doing R&D on this?
Yeah, yeah, we have the victim underneath, and then we have Mia above her, but we had her on actually a hinge so that she could rotate up, actually. The performer could get underneath her and then set her down on top of her. We tried to make the performer as comfortable as we can. You can tell there's a lot of water going on there, and you can see between the floorboards we had a gap. And so we could have water drain through the floor and then get it pumped out. So we're not flooding the maze, because we would end up doing that over an 8-hour period of time. Yes, we have. That's why we know that. That's why we put the reservoir in here. So we learned from our mistakes, actually.
And then if you click to the next slide, these are kind of just pictures people took as they were going through the maze, but that's how it looked on set. You saw the Deadite vomiting all over the girl, and then she could turn their head and blast them so that they continued on through their merry way through the maze. Go ahead and click the next slide. And then last, this was another gag we did last time we did Evil Dead, where Mia had to enter the scene with a chainsaw, trigger her own lighting and audio cue, and then shove the chainsaw into the Deadite's mouth, which is kind of asking an actress to do a lot, you know. So Chris designed this one as well.
Yeah, this was also in the scene that we had to make it look like it was raining blood, and that's what was going on at the end of the film. So, you know, we were scratching our head how to kind of do that and
staining everybody's clothes.
Without staining it, and also that you can, you know, feel it texturally, you can feel the rain. So we actually put a few misters at the top, running in with some rails at the top, and then heavy saturated red lighting, and also we painted everything in the scene red as well to help out. And with a combination of everything like that, it really turned out good, actually.
I think I have a picture if you hit the next slide. There you go. So that's the finished product. So if we go ahead and click the next slide.
Yeah.
So Ash vs. Evil Dead. How many of you guys are fans of Ash vs. Evil Dead? Alright. So this game just started construction not that long ago.
No, it started construction, say, about 3 weeks ago. A week ago, Scenic jumped in, so we're just starting to paint a few things and such.
So I'm going to give you a few hints of things you can expect to see in the maze, a little sneak peek. Go ahead and click the slide. So if you know the show, you know Ash now, he's living in the Mossy Haven trailer park. So one of the challenges scenically we have to do is create a trailer. And yes, you can buy a trailer, but you have to get all those people through it, so it's not very practical to try to use a real trailer, so we have to create one. So this is out of the backlog. If you ride the tram, you'll start seeing this take shape. It's out where Krampus was last year on the Metro area of the Universal Backlog. If you go ahead and click the slide. Another place we wanted to go in to show you, Chris and I, we watch all the episodes of the first 2 seasons, and we try to cherry pick, environments that we want you guys to experience when you go through the maze. We really love the idea that Ash comes back to Elk Grove, Michigan, which is his childhood home. So kind of the cool thing about this maze is you have a facade, which is out front with the trailer park, that as you go through the first section of the maze, you come to a whole other 2-story facade, and that's Ash's childhood house. Go ahead. And of course, that means we get to take you into Ash's childhood room, which of course is just rife with a million pop culture references and all these Easter eggs from the Evil Dead franchise. And of course, that means we're going to run into his sister Cheryl. Go ahead. And then of course, it wouldn't be Evil Dead if we didn't take you to the cabin in the woods. So we're absolutely going to take you to the cabin in the woods. You're going to run into Amanda, who Ash briefly had a crush on the show until she died a horrible, tragic death. Go ahead. We're going to take you to the fruit salad with all those weird hanging, are those yams or gourds?
Those are gourds.
Gourds.
I spent a lot of time in here the last couple of days, actually, because they're working in here, and it's going to look exactly like the show. It's turning out awesome.
And one really exciting thing that, at least we're really excited about, because it harkens back to the other Evil Dead films, is, slide, Henrietta.
Boom.
So we're building a Henrietta right now.
Yes.
It's a pretty complicated little piece of puppetry, but you will get to encounter Henrietta as you did, not only in Ash vs. Evil Dead, but also from the films as well. And that's Ash vs. Evil Dead. Okay. Let's talk about Shining. People always ask us, are there movies that you have wanted to do for a long time and you never got the chance to do? This would be one of them. For many years, we've considered but also been, frankly, kind of terrified to do The Shining.
Yeah.
It's not an easy movie to translate into what we do. Again, especially when you think about everything we do has got to be a new show every 10 seconds. So if you click the next slide. I remember there was a lot of fans who said, "Where's the key art?" when we announced the maze. Here's the key art. You can finally see it. And it's either going to be video next or a fan question, so go ahead and click. Oh, it's a fan question. Go ahead. This is from Fernie Mouse, at Fernie Mouse. What is the main concept of The Shining? Or in other words, what do you want fans to feel? So I'm going to ask Chris that question. What do you hope our fans will feel when they go through our maze?
Well, it's like what you were talking about, The Shining at the beginning. In my mind, it's like, and it's very hard to do this within a 5-minute walk to attraction, but a sense of dread. It's trying to get some suspense. Because that's what that movie, when you watch it, is about. But it's a big, slow burn. And it really is. But that's, in my mind, what we're trying to pull through this maze and help you feel that.
And I think that's really a difference in the horror movies that were made in the 70s. The Shining, of course, was 1980, so it's right in line with those films. As Chris referenced, it's a slow burn. I know plenty of people who couldn't even probably watch The Exorcist. They wouldn't get past the Iraq sequence. Actually, I've met many of these people. Where I've they ask me, "What's your scariest movie of all time?" I'm like, "Oh, The Exorcist. You gotta watch it." And then they can't get past the first 20 minutes. Halloween's the same way, by the way. Halloween, nothing really happens for the last 15 minutes of the movie. So it's a challenging thing to instill that sense of dread of what's coming when you're creating a live experience. But there's also a piece of video we brought that was the announcement video for Shining that I think does a good job of explaining what we're hoping you will feel when you go through this maze. So if we could run the video. So, the first thing Chris and I do, obviously we know this movie really well, we've seen it a million times. But, you know, we watch the movie together, we take copious notes, neither of us talk, it's really awkward. We're sitting in my office just going,
It's true.
we're the least fun people to watch horror movies with. We're awful, we just sit there and we write our little notes. But then we kind of, up on the big board in my office, we wrote a list. Do you remember this? Yeah. And we wrote a list of the must-haves. And I'm actually going to ask you guys, because I want to see how good you were at designing this thing. If you were going to make a shiny maze, give me one thing that should be in it.
Twins! Here's Johnny. Twins!
Okay, I heard Red Rum, I heard a hedge maze.
I heard twins.
And twins, the Brady twins.
Elevator!
Elevator blood. Yes. Okay. And now it's all running into one and I can't tell what the other people are saying. But, yeah, I mean, everything we just mentioned, yes, it's all on the maze. But, from the scenic perspective, there's something I didn't hear you mention. Go ahead and click the next one. These are all a lot of things you said, the Grady twins, the red room door, the elevator of blood, you know, here's Johnny, the hedge maze, but there's something else. Go ahead and click the next one. What the hell just happened? Henrietta just came back on the screen. There we go. There we go. Okay, you can click the next one. Okay. Good. Yeah. There we go. Okay, good. Thank you. The carpet. The carpet's actually really incredibly important, particularly scenically, because as Chris and I were sitting there writing all our notes, and this is something we don't normally do in movies. We don't normally think about carpet. But you look at the scenic, and what do you have? You have stark white hallways, brown 1970s looking doors. Without the carpet, it's not the overlook.
Yeah. Look at the camera angle too that he has. Really low. He's really keen on the carpet. And we felt that that was super important and almost a character within itself, actually.
So, you know, normally we don't think about what's below your feet, because typically when people are going through a maze, their POV is like here. You know, it's not usually up, it's not usually down, it's always where's the next scare coming from, where's the next scare coming from. So we knew that it was really important that we had to reproduce this carpet. That is a behind the scenes image of us making a little Danny there for the Grady twin scene. But if you click the next slide, this is what we're talking about. See the stark white hallway with that really geometrically shaped carpet, the really funky green and purple carpet, that's room 237. If you click the next slide. So this is the carpet we made.
Yeah, we're seeing that out on the side. Yeah.
This is actually right when we started construction. So the first thing they did is they put down the carpet.
The carpet gets no claws, that's all.
I know. Well, I have more carpet pictures. I'm really into the carpet. Go ahead, next picture.
Yes.
The one with purple, that's room 237. The other one
It's the hallway leading to the gold room, actually. So there's a hallway leading to it.
Can you go ahead and click the next one? Our designers get really into what they're doing. I'll let Chris introduce his team there.
On the left there, that's Matt Maldonado. He's one of my art directors, and he does most of my graphics, actually. He's kind of in charge of that. So you can tell our carpet is custom and custom printed, so Matt built that all is very expensive to do, but we had that printed back east actually, shipped out and then seamed within.
I'm gonna do my house.
You know what? I know it's really awesome, and you know you probably see Matt is probably wearing that shirt today out here somewhere. But nonetheless, on the other image, that's me and Matt, and then also Barbara Grill and Brandy Creason, who are two other designers and art directors that I have on my staff. So I have a small staff of people, but they're very knowledgeable and incredibly experienced.
And there's one other guy who's not in this picture. His name is Troy.
Yeah, Troy Zimmerman. Hey, you know, if you ever see a guy cruising around, he's probably out here wearing fez, the long beard. That's Troy.
Troy looks like if you, you know, we're doing Roanoke, American Horror Story. You know all the colonial guys that like march through the woods in American Horror Story and Roanoke and the torches? Troy looks just like them. Because he is one of them. He's in American Horror Story. So
Yes,
he's one of those guys. He's in a lot of different movies. Troy actually came to us as a character and worked for us as a character, and he got a chance to meet us, and we found out that he was a production designer and he had all these mad skills.
Yes.
So now he's part of our creative department.
Actually, Troy went to architecture school out of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So he has an amazing education behind him, actually. So.
And the crazy thing Troy did when we were doing The Shining, I should have taken a picture of this, but I didn't. But you know the all work and the play makes Jack a dull boy? He got a big, like, you know, like you would drafting paper, like you would for the mazes.
It's 2 foot by 3 foot.
And just a tiny little script. By hand, he wrote that phrase
Yes.
thousands of times.
Yes.
By hand. You know, I walked into the office and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this picture. But the cool thing and the message, the reason I mentioned Troy is for people who aspire to do this, it is possible to, you know, literally get in the door as a performer and, you know, a few years later, he's designing the mazes with us, so it's pretty incredible. And that's the kind of talented people we get the opportunity to work with. Okay, next slide. We also have, you know, room 237. Very specific architectural look to it. If you click the next slide. That was me rummaging around in the maze the other day. We're kind of in the middle of finishing up Scenic. We just started props, so they haven't even addressed the bed yet, but I just poked my head in room 237 and took that picture. That's the bedroom part of room 237. If we click the next slide. This is the bathroom. Hasn't started props yet, but...
Yeah, it's just a small little sliver of what's to come, guys. You can tell we're really working incredibly hard to make this look exactly like the film.
And of course, you know, you will see the old in the house, of course. Next slide. Another challenging thing is just to create the architecture of the overlook. This is a still from the movie where Jack's cruising through the lobby. I took one picture of some of the columns that Chris has got going in the maze on the next slide.
Yeah, you can tell, and you know what, we're not going to click back, but looking at that other image, you know, it's so big and broad and expansive, you know, it's really hard for us to pull that off within a maze, but you can see we're making big, bold columns, as well as, you know, the black and white photos from the 1920s, even some of them are the a la 1920s New Year Eve type as well. But, you know, we're really trying to hit the coloration. We're pulling it off. You guys are going to be happy with it.
Okay, next slide. And then, of course, you know, here's Johnny. When you think about it, that's a really difficult scene to do live in front of people. It's a guy chopping down a door that then has to, you know, stick his face in the door for the classic "Here's Johnny" line, has to reach through the door to try to get to the lock. Wendy has to slash him with a knife. So we knew we wanted to get all that action into the scene and compress it down so that we could do it. And of course, with pre-recorded audio, that means our performers are going to have to be really good at miming to the audio. So that it's all done to track. But we started doing this a couple of years ago when we did the Halloween maze, where we had Dr. Loomis shoot Michael Myers. And those performers were amazing. Like every single time I went in that room, you know, they were perfectly on cue. Michael, bang, bang, bang. They would react to it perfectly. So now we have to train our performers to do the same thing with The Shining. But it still didn't solve the problem of how do you deal with this axe smashing through the door. Chris had a really good idea. I think I have the drawing for it on the next slide. There we go.
Oh yeah, that's
That's
a concept drawing, and it was illustrated by Lucas Colshaw, but the concept is, you can see on the right side, it's just a simple pivot, and it's an axe on a simple pivot that has a gusset that's coming off the back of the door itself. And the performer, like John had said, to the sound of the chopping, will just move this puppet forward. We have certain stops on it that you can only go so far forward, and it's a soft foam axe head. So, like what John said, there's really 4 things that's got to happen. He's got to chop, he's got to put his head up through the door, and he's got to reach down through, and then Wendy's going to hit his hand. So it's in a bathroom. There's probably 10 to 12 steps before you're out of the room. So that has got to happen all really quick and everything. Yeah.
And Chris mentioned this earlier, but we did the math on this years ago. If you're a performer in the scene, if you're playing Jack Torrance, you're going to do this 60,000 times. That's about the average of how many times a performer in horror nights will do whatever we block for them to do. So it's all about repetitive action that they can do over and over and over again. Okay, next slide. Oh, there's the axe. They were installing this on Friday, so I went down to play with it, monkey around with it, and just try to put myself in the actor's position, which Chris and I will always do. If there's a creature, if there's somebody that's supposed to be, getting half eaten by La Llorona or whatever the creature is, the alien, the thing, we'll put ourselves on the table, we'll crawl in.
John will do that. It depends on what it is before I crawl into something. He'll put on every single mask.
And sometimes it'll perform.
Yeah, and it's so that, you know what, honestly, it's so that he and we have an understanding of really what our performers are kind of getting into with, a certain mask, if it's small, if it's larger, or you guys know we do a lot of magic illusion gags, so we put performers within tables and really, precarious situations. So we want to know what they're getting into as well. So
I think I'm banned from performing in our mazes now after Halloween because I just really wanted to be Michael Myers one night. Who wouldn't, And it was the year we did that. Remember that scene with the mirrors where there were like multiple Michael Myers? Well, one night I went down to the wardrobe and got a Michael Myers mask and got a costume. But then I realized I have to drive through the movie studio on a golf cart dressed like Michael Myers, which was fun. It was a good drug ride. And then, park somewhere where I could sneak in to the park and somehow get to the maze without everybody seeing me. So I took the mask off and stashed it. Walked really quick and I went backstage and I said, I'm going in. And they're like, what? I'm going in. I'm going to be Michael. I'm going to be in the final scene. So I did it for like an hour. But I figured out in that scene that if you jumped out a certain way, you could make people go in circles. I had the whole audience crawling like in a circle, going, please God, how do we get out of here? And somebody came up and tapped on my shoulder going, you gotta stop that. So they haven't let me in a race system. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we're gonna get into some more Q&A. This one is Shining related, go ahead. Most creative things have a trial and error process. Does that apply to HHN? No, never. What are some errors and what did you learn from them? And this is from some Dugout. Actually, yes, this does apply to The Shining. If you click the next slide, I think I brought a drawing of the Grady scene. We had a concept, actually Chris's idea of how to do the Grady twins using Pepper's ghost illusion. But even though you have a concept, and even though we've done Pepper's Ghost a bunch, did it in Crimson Peak, done it in a bunch of different mazes, it doesn't mean it's going to work the way that you think it is, because it's all very specific to the math and the angle of the glass to get that illusion, that ghostly figure to look like it's actually in the space you want it to look like. So we built a full-size model of this in our warehouse.
Yeah, we did. We did a little R&D, and the question is, essentially we learn from our mistakes, actually. I make a running list every year because you know, this is not a permanent attraction and we walk away. No, we've got, you know, the following year. So we don't want to repeat those kind of things. Sometimes we do. But we learn and we fix those. A lot of those are based on characters and how they're performing, you know, as well as some scenic things. And here's this one of the Peppers Ghost. So, you know, and the way that we wanted the Peppers Ghost is obviously we want you to see the girls, but then we want you to see them disappear and then the whole bloody scene. And that's what we're really trying to pull off. And that's how we felt that it was so important to do. Really, we built it full scale, and the drawing, that's a Troy Zimmerman drawing, in our warehouse, and we were wrong. We were wrong. So it's good that we
Meaning
put
that
this
the
together.
girls, when you saw the reflection of the ghost girls, they weren't even in the room. They were like behind the wall.
Yeah.
The spatial relationship was all wrong, so we had to redo it a couple of times.
Yeah, our theory on what we thought and regarding this Peppers Ghost. And there's a couple layers to this Peppers Ghost. It's just not making someone appear and disappear, which is very easy. There's a couple layers to this and some things to try to figure out. So basically off of that drawing, we had to retake and alter the design as well as in the field, because we were heading down that path of construction and had to make some alterations. So, you know, this lays out perfectly.
Yeah. Okay, next slide. Because I know I would literally be walking down the street, not even at Universal, and people would yell at that. Cars would be going by and they'd be like, "What happened to VIP?" It's not my job, you know. People would corner me in the car, you know. We communicated your desires, and RIP is back. So thank you guys for your passion. Thank you guys for constantly getting me to where it was. RIP tickets will be going on sale as well, so you get it back. All right, next one. If you had to choose one makeup effect from any year, from any HHN Maze or Scare Zone, which one would you pick and why? This is from Alonzo Zaragoza.
That's really tough.
That is tough. Next slide, because I'm going to eliminate creatures. Because we've done a lot of really cool creatures. There's the Freddy Snake, La Llorona, the Queen Alien from AVP, the Black Widow from Alice Cooper, of course, American Royal from London. But Chris and I actually conferred, and we did have a favorite traditional makeup. Go ahead, next one. And that is the Still Walking Devil from Welcome to Hell, Scare Zone back in 2009. And just real quickly, I'll jam through these. It was actually kind of the concept was darkness, if you remember him from the movie Legend. Next one. This is Lucas Colshaw's drawing of the devil. If we go to the next one. This is Larry Bones when he was doing the makeup. This is his rough sculpt of that character. And then after you do the rough sculpt, you finesse it. So next slide. That's all the detail. And then you also, next slide, have to do the chest and the horns and the beard. And you put all that together, and this is what you get. And that's it in the park. And still to this day, that's my favorite traditional.
That's mine as well, absolutely. And that was early on when, 2009, I mean, I think that was one of our first still performers out on the street as well.
Yeah.
And I think that may be why it was so impactful with the chest piece and everything. Big, big horns.
And ever since that, we've been in love with still performers, so you'll see a whole bunch of them this year as well. Next slide. I'm pretty sure you answered this before, but are all Scare Zones original and new this year from Ralph Chiarella? Next slide. Let's just show you. Is that cool? Scare Zones. So this is the top deck, Scare Zone for the park. The names are still being vetted through all the processes that have to go on to secure the names that we're going to call them. You know, for years I would always put a Z after everything. Just as being cute, because I know everybody thought, we were just being silly by putting it's to get something trademarked. Because everything is trademarked in this day and age. Everything is. you know. So it's difficult to find names, come up with names that somebody else has a trademark for a book or a video game or a movie. So the names in these scare zones are still being finalized, but the entry one is kind of traditional Halloween.
Yes, very traditional Halloween.
We kind of wanted to go back to like that traditional Halloween look. This is the Chainsaw Brigade. We'll keep blasting through these. Next one. Some of the mask designs for our chainsaw performers. So basically all pumpkin-headed guys. Next one. Some more in the same vein.
So, in respect to casting, Scott Kleckner, our director of casting as well, and he does all the casting. I just wanted to mention him.
Next slide, please. We also have Scarecrow chainsaw performers. This is the look of some of those. And this is all when you first come into the park. Next, please. Brought a couple of blasts from the past back. The one with the teddy bear head was so bizarre and weird. It was in the Purge Gauntlet last year. But I just loved it. Every time I saw that character, I just smiled. I just thought he was strangely creepy. So we brought him back for the Scare Zone. And also a character called Bad Bunny that we had in the Toy Scare Zone years ago. We decided to bring back Bad Bunny and make him join the Scare Zone as well. Next one. Just some more of the characters that are going to be in the Top Deck Scare Zone. Next one. This one I really did. Just a variation on your traditional kind of Halloween guy in a white sheet. Next one. Yeah. And then I think I've maybe a couple more from this Scare Zone. Go ahead.
You guys are so lucky to see all this, actually.
I didn't actually ask permission. I hope we weren't going to announce this separately in the press release. I just decided to announce it today. Is that okay? This is a still walker on the top deck, kind of a, you know, traditional Halloween werewolf, and then a skeleton one after that. And then next slide, we've got, okay, so there's the walk to the backlog. You're actually walking through the backstage of the movie studio, basically. So there's that big tunnel you have to walk through. So Chris and I always have to come up with, working with a guy named Pat Quinn, who works on our team, and does a lot of work on the scare zones and the decor in the park. We always have to come up with a theme, and we're like, well, it's a tunnel. It's pretty much not going to change being a tunnel, so it's got to be tunnel themed. So Pat came up with this idea, actually. It was like, as if a bunch of, Con Edison workers or, guys were going to do some work in a tunnel, and there was a horrific gas leak that turned them all into hideous monsters. So this is one of those looks. I think I have another one on the next slide. Yes. This one, his gas mask is like literally melted to his face. But that's kind of the look of that particular Scare Zone. And then down in Metro set, next slide. We're doing, the Scare Zone down there is going to be like urban hell. It's going to basically be New York City in the 1970s, essentially, because that's what New York was like. But it's going to be an urban setting, but it's going to be hell on earth. So there's all kinds of different characters we're designing for that Scare Zone. We're changing up the way that you go through it. It's going to be a little bit more like our Gauntlet was upstairs last year, a lot more twists and turns. This is the goat-legged fellow, I forget his name.
Goat Executioner.
Goat Executioner, there we go. Next one. This is his fellow executioners. Next one. One of our devil. This one is if like he was made of like earth that had cracked, like everything is all, like his face was made out of mud or something and he cracked. Next one.
We were looking at his costume, actually. A lot of these costumes that you see that have a lot of tatteredness and such, those are all custom costumes, built from scratch. Myself and Pat and John, we look at the textures that our costume people bring us as well. So, and honestly, what they do is they build one out of muslin that we can look at and see the form and then approve that, and then we will actually build the actual one. So there's a big process to this. So I know we usually don't talk a whole lot about costumes, but we have a big crew of people out in Glendale that are just cranking all these custom costumes out. So.
And one thing I've learned working with Chris all these years is that he really knows shoes particularly well.
A little bit. You even talk about the go-go's.
Yeah, you always know like stuff that I would never know. Shoes. Man who knows shoes.
I buy my wife's shoes.
Do you?
Yeah.
How about these shoes?
Like heels.
Do you know I haven't worn white shoes since I was a freshman in high school? And I thought they were cool in 81. And the football team during PE took my white shoes when I was out, running laps around the, football field and threw them in the shower. So I had to put them on.
So that sucks.
I've never been bullied in high school. This is like a high school bullied story. But do you know that scene in Creep Show where the guy buries him up to his neck and he drowns and then he comes back and you hear this? I had to walk down the hall in the high school because I was late for class because my clothes were all in the shower. I was like, so I finally had the courage to wear white shoes. Totally has nothing to do with it. All right, next slide. This is another stilt walker. This is the king of hell, basically. And then I think we have his queen.
Yes.
Okay. And that's going to be down in the Metro set. All right. Next slide. Okay. Trivia question time. Pretty good. 4 minutes to go. In my hot little hand, I have this. And it says, congratulations. Presuming you're going to actually get this right. Give you a 50-50 chance on it.
Oh, God.
You are invited to experience Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood with 2 complimentary frontline tickets to the event and an exclusive behind-the-scenes maze tour with the creators of Halloween Horror Nights. Somebody's going to win this, I hope. If you don't get this right, I'm going to tear it into little pieces, and no one gets it.
It's tough. I didn't know it.
It's tough. This is a bad one. It's really hard. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to pick somebody. Nobody shout it out, because if you shout it out, I'm going to tear it into little pieces, and nobody's going to get it, okay? It's going to be a Shining-related trivia question.
Oh, God.
It is tough, okay? Next slide. Do you all know who this guy is? This is Mr. Grady. He was the former caretaker of the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. Ready? Okay. Let's go. Question. In The Shining, the former character of the Overlook Hotel, Mr. Grady, is mysteriously referred to by 2 different first names. What are they? Now, there's somebody way in the back right there. Your hand is up. I saw you first. Stand up. Tell me the 2 first names of Mr. Grady.
Charles and Delbert.
You are absolutely right.
That was awesome.
Okay. I honestly didn't think it was going to be hard. That's incredible. Congratulations. I'm going to give you this. All the information for 17. We'll get it on the subscribe.
Oh, my God.
What I wanted to say also is thank you guys so much for supporting this event. It means the world to us. We're very, very, very lucky to have such dedicated, passionate fans. Chris and I have to do a couple interviews out in front of the lobby, but we'll hang out, and if anybody wants to say hi, we are more than welcome to do whatever you require within us. Okay? Thank you very much.